What's going on, Cancer? I salute the divinity in you, and welcome to the Chariot Friends. Justin here. And how you feeling? Are you able to talk today? Articulate? If not, the moon's in Aquarius now, so we can focus on that. But I kind of like I like wherever the moon's at. But I really like where this moon is at, being that she's in Aquarius, a fixed air sign, and that we're in that first quarter phase. So now we're taking action, we're building things, we're clearing stuff out. I feel this can be a very constructive phase in the moon, and we'll get into that more in a minute. But if you're new here, again, my name is Justin, and know that when you're coming across this video, you're in sync with the moon, and she loves that. It's a little secret. And I do tarot card spreads based on our ruler here, the good old moon. And I'll talk about what sign she's in, what phase she's in, when she's going. Oh, and I did skip a part. And when she's going to avoid, of course, is all them lunar shenanigans. But this is also a channel for you if you happen to have Cancer in your placement. Sun, moon, rising, maybe Saturn, wherever. This one's for you. And just so y'all aware, this is what happens when we're getting it together. Just so y'all aware, this is a general reading, not a one-to-one, so take what fits into your story. Discard all that. And everything will be dope, Cancer. Now, let's jump into it. And I'll give you a little sidebar. The body is, it may even show up in my voice, but the body is doing this amazing thing. It's healing. I'm in a lunar return right now where my moon is falling in the 6th house, and I could definitely have been taking better care of 6th house matters, which most importantly is health. And so we're working through it. I'll definitely have more energy tomorrow. That's the plan. But whatever. I guess that's just all I wanted to tell you. But depending on when you're also watching this, happy Jupiter Day. Let's get to it. And I'm gonna shuffle your cards here while we're getting to the same. But Jupiter's associated with Thursdays. We love Big Papa, and this is a day to think about. Oh, how lovely. I love that. Thanks, Spirit. Think about all the ways that the universe excites you. But, that's a great thing about Jupiter. One of the things I feel like Jupiter does is bring about, of course, that sense of optimism, that big energy. But I find that we find that optimism with Jupiter from going through the experiences. You don't get wisdom just dropped to you. You usually learn something. It's like, ooh, okay, that went that way, and I want that to keep happening. And it's like, ooh, that expanded that way, and I don't want that to happen again. And I feel like Jupiter Day could be a great time for just like kind of reflection as far as like how you've grown and what areas do you want to continue to grow, where you're growing from. That's something I think to think about too, and think about how far you've come along on your journey. I really do like Jupiter days, but these can be really great days for just kind of spirituality, for getting in touch with yourself, again, for learning different things, maybe even for teaching different things too. And it doesn't necessarily have to be in like a formal class setting per se. This could even be just maybe someone, a coworker, a friend, a partner, a family member who's going through something, and you happen to have a little bit of got 2 cents to share. Maybe you got a whole dollar to share. So share those things if it's welcome. But I also like to take these days to think about what is your relationship with your Jupiter placement. Where's Big Papa placed in your chart? How is he expanding your life? Do you have him like me in the first house, and he's just making your personality big, even when you're in the healing thing? Does he help you keep you going? Jupiter does a lot for me. He's like right on my ascendant, so that's always a perk. But I feel like be mindful with that. Don't put yourself too hard. But find out where does Jupiter lie and where Jupiter's at transiting. Considering that Jupiter's in Gemini in his sign of detriment. Where does that house of Gemini fall for you? And what areas does Jupiter have you focusing on right now? And just looking into what even Jupiter means. What are the Jupiterian themes that come up? So, and how that sits with you. So just some things to think about. But let's get into the lunar shenanigans. Now, because on the 7th of November, depending on when you're watching this, the moon is going to enter into Aquarius at about 2:58 p.m. And that's going to be Pacific time. And like I said, she's in a first quarter phase, in which I'll talk about that energy next, because I got a whole chart for you. But with the moon in Aquarius, the moon is how we nurture, how our feelings fluctuate. The moon can be very associated with the body too, as well, and how we take care of the body day, and even how the body feels day to day. So, and I go that kind of ties in with the ascendant too. But that's just some things to think about. The moon. The moon is how we take care of this body, and how it's one of the lights. It's a very important part of the chart to pay attention to. But what I like about this in Aquarius, because Aquarius is traditionally ruled by Saturn. And so there is this discipline I feel that really comes with Aquarius. They can have this very strong focused mind because their modality is fixed. And so there's this staying power that comes with Aquarius. And their element is air. So there is that deals with the communication, the mind, and so how we learn. And so I feel like Aquarius is like when, especially, I love like Mercury in Aquarius. I feel like that's a really, really tight place for Mercury to be. But even Sun Aquariuses are pretty dope. But when we're talking about even their gender is masculine, so there's this active energy. And so I feel like when we're paying attention to this moon in Aquarius, where has your mind been focused? And has it been nurturing to your being? Has it been expanding you? I would talk about Jupiter Day. Or has it been keeping you in a box? Have you been sort of like, has the air gotten stagnant? And that's something to think about. Do we need to open a window, like a metaphorical, maybe we need to literally open a window to get some new air coming in? I'm actually thinking the same thing. It just feels a little stuffy in here, but is that something to think about, where maybe there's been a certain way of thinking that has been not been elevating us? So that could be some things too. You pay attention to the social media that you're watching, the news that you're watching, the books that you're reading, the people that you're conversing with on a day-to-day. How does That's something I've been even kind of noticing. Just kind of get into an observing space and see where you've noticed that, like, even when you hear like that always or never sort of conversations and things coming up in conversations, or yeah, pay attention to that as well. Because I find when Aquarius does get fixed on something, and in fixed energy in general, once it's locked on, it can be slow to change, but once it has a grip on something, it'll go with it full force. So you do just want to be aware of that, and just notice where some things that, yeah, get this very kind of Knight of Swords when you think about Aquarius for me. But let's talk about the first quarter phase here, because that's the time where, and then I'll switch over. On Venus Day, the 8th of November, we're going to get into that first quarter phase, and that's going to happen at about 9:55 p.m. And again, that's Pacific time. And the first quarter phase is when we're taking action. So there's that masculine energy with Aquarius again. This is a time where, if you've been noticing that something has been distracting you, maybe there's been a lot coming up with this Scorpio season. Now this is a time to, you know what? I need to focus on this right now. This is going to be the thing that fuels me up, and I need to maybe kind of keep your head down for a moment. Be sort of, I don't want to say narrow-minded, but just like more just focused. Like maybe kind of just tuning out any sort of outside distractions here. And let's go ahead and switch over to this chart, because the first quarter phase happens. Let me hand it in a jar. First quarter happens when the sun and the moon are in a square with one another. That's when the planets are 90 degrees apart. And so, again, another call to action energy. I like to associate the squares with kind of like Martian energy. But this is going to be happening at 17 degrees and 19 minutes. The sun in Scorpio, the moon is in Aquarius. And so you have both the fixed signs. And this is one dealing with emotions and the other dealing with the mind. And so this could be something too. Maybe you've been getting a lot of downloads that have been coming up during the Scorpio season, because this is a great time for just noticing any sort of intense feelings, and where we either want to change them or where we want to continue to harness that, especially if we've been feeling any sort of like, we want to look into the more higher vibrations of Scorpio, the things that bring us joy, that bring us this happiness, this fulfillment. But in order to get to that, there needs to be, I feel like, an acknowledgement of maybe the up things that are opposing that. And it's not necessarily getting caught up in it and like just staying fixed on it, but there are certain aspects of life that we go through in this human experience, that we're going to go through sixth house things, health, enemies. We're going to go through eighth house things, death, inheritances, wills, things like that, or 12th house things, chronic illnesses, depression, sufferings, things along those lines. But they're not forever. And I feel like and I think that this first quarter is just like thinking about what are some things that maybe you've been ignoring, some things that you've been putting off, things that you've known that have needed to be changed, but we've been maybe stubborn or fixed on it's a certain type of way because maybe there's that like always things are going to be like this, or maybe things will never do that, and as opposed to maybe inviting an alternative sort of speech and a sort of feelings like, okay, this is what I have been noticing, a consistency of this. What are some things that I can consistently do to combat that? It's not going to necessarily say it's going to get fixed overnight, but once you, like I was saying earlier, fixed signs may be kind of slow to the starting up of things, but once they get a groove, you can take it far, and then it just really kind of helps you out in the long run. Take it from someone. I have, minus my moon and something else. Oh, my sun. I have all fixed energy in my chart. 5 stacks of Leo, Taurus in my midheaven, Saturn in Aquarius. So I deal with a lot of fixed energy very regularly. So it is something where I've noticed in my just kind of in going through my journey, where when I have those different things, writing affirmations, doing meditations, things like that, working, moving the body and stuff, those things have been consistently keeping me from getting into a lower rut than where I think if I had gotten just stuck, then the story would have looked just like a lot different. So those are just some things I think to just kind of pay attention to. But one thing I like about this too, let me change this to a different color, this first quarter, is that after this first quarter is happening, the moon is going to be forming a trine with Big Papa, and that's gonna be really nice. So there's gonna be an opportunity for changing things up. Jupiter's in Gemini, but I feel like it's gonna be something that is gonna require some effort, and you may not. If there may be, let's say, if you've been wanting to change like a workout routine, just been noticing you've been feeling a lot in the body, it's been feeling sluggish, maybe you've noticed your face is breaking out, whatever it may be. Now it's like, okay, there are 100 different ways to resolve these things. Which one works for you? And so that where maybe that Jupiter and Gemini might be a little all over the place, but with that moon and Aquarius, you can focus, and this opens up the doors, because the trine are very beneficial, the most beneficial aspect. I like to think of them as Jupiterian in nature. And even too, a little bit later, this is happening within at least, what is that, about 9, how's my math looking, about 9 degrees or so, the moon will eventually be forming a conversation with Venus as well. And so that'll be just like maybe a day later or so, maybe about 18 hours or so later. Because Venus will still be in Sag. So there's a lot of beneficial conversations that the moon will be having after this. I think that's all I'm going to talk about there. That's going to be happening after this first quarter phase, that I feel could be where maybe there might be this acknowledgement at first that's just like, you know what, yeah, I've been in this rut, or maybe I've been in this relationship, I've been in this environment that it's just like, oh, like I got to do these things to change it. But it's like when you invite the idea that you can change it, things start moving. And it may just be little small things at first, but those small things, that kind of 6 of Wands energy, can build up to be those big wins down the line there. So, get the wheel moving. Jupiter, Wheel of Fortune. Get that energy moving. And another thing that I wanted to kind of talk about with this too is the Sabian symbol for this, and then we'll get into the tarot. This moon is going to be happening, or this first quarter is going to be happening at phase 318 of Aquarius. And the quote for this is, a man's secret motives are publicly unmasked. And so that's very, very interesting. So I'd even be curious to see what kind of comes up in the news, if there's some sort of like more secret motives or things that may be revealed during this time. That's just kind of like a general kind of mundane sort of observation. But yeah, pay attention to, again, this is not a gender specific reading. So man, woman, whatever just happens to come up. Something may be revealed during this time. But the keynote for this is the difficulty for the modern individual to keep secret his private past or his motives. And so what I think of, on a more personal level, Scorpio energy with that sun in Scorpio is very, very perceptive. Scorpio notices the things that aren't said. And I feel like this is going to be something where maybe you've been keeping something secret from yourself, as far as like, maybe I've been overeating, or maybe I've been undereating. Maybe I haven't been moving the body that I'd like to. Maybe this relationship isn't working, or maybe I'm afraid of that this relationship is working. I'm afraid to commit. I feel like there are some things that maybe you've always known with that moon in Aquarius, but now it's like it's being publicly unmasked is more so. I feel like this acceptance of just like, and I'm even just getting a feeling all over my body of just like, yeah. Like this reminds me of I was getting these downloads for a while, and I was getting them as early as I've been getting them just for a while, but they were really kind of coming through strongly. I'd say like last year, where it was I was getting as far as like addictions and things under control for the most part, but I had a bit of a relapse, and it really led to this I put myself in a really kind of precarious situation, and everything's okay. But it was one of those things where I just had to like, this really isn't working. This is as much as you want to do this, do that, and it's like the lovely thing about spirit loves you regardless. But it's just like you can continue what you're doing, but it's just going to, at some point, we gotta are we gonna how do you want to, before we go forward, how are we gonna be moving forward? And I feel like, no, that doesn't mean that your forces are going to, your angels, God, whatever, your guides are going to leave you, but know that however you need to go through this relationship, they're going to be there for you, whatever that looks like. And so I think that the things that maybe we've been kind of hiding from ourselves are going to come to light. And this is not something I feel like, you know what? I feel like this could be too, where maybe it's publicly unmasked, is that maybe you happen to see your similar behaviors coming out in others, possibly. So that might be another thing that is coming up, especially if this is like opposing any sort of placements for you in your chart. Maybe you might see it in other people, and you're just like, why don't you get it? And then it's just like, maybe because I'm not getting it. Maybe because these people are showing up because there's something that I'm not paying attention to, because I keep doing this, as opposed to looking outward as what's wrong, maybe looking more inward as to what's going on for you. So I feel like this is not a time to be harsh on yourself. Again, this seems like, I feel like whatever this thing that could potentially be being brought up, and this may not resonate with everyone, but whatever this thing that may come up, be graceful with yourself, and be compassionate with yourself. Have this conversation, and then what are the plans going for? And I think that's going to tie in really nicely with the general energy that's coming up. And let's go ahead. I think that's all I got to say here. So let's go ahead and switch over here. But little sidebar there before we jump into this reading. If you are wanting to work with your chart more closely and understand how these energies are working with you, which I'm just about done editing my services and stuff. I've done a little revision since over the last couple of days. It's just making sure manage my time better. But down in the description box, I have a list of services to, maybe you want to work with your solar return or your lunar return. See what's going on, because I tell you what, that lunar return is very, very insightful. And I'd gotten early on, and I had been putting it off, and then it's not come on full swing where I've like been out for a day, but it's been where it's just like I've noticed where the body is really working for me, and it's just like, I need to pay that attention back. But you can get a heads up for these things ahead of time. So again, that's just working with the lunar return, which is a monthly one. So if you got that coming up, or if you want to do your solar return chart, maybe you had just one pass, maybe you have one coming up, whatever that's looking like for you, all that stuff's down in the description box below. Now, last couple of things here. These readings that I do, they're not gender-specific readings, so apply these energies to people as it makes sense for your situations. And I'm going to ring this bell a couple times to bring in some great vibes here, to raise the vibration a little bit before we get into this, clear the energy. So adjust your volume if you need to, but I'm going to ring this a few times, and then let's get into it. All right. Let's get into this thing. And I really like this. And I love how this energy's syncing up here because you have the first quarter moon in Virgo, which is a card of assess the situation. And I like this because when we're talking about Virgo, Virgo is one that they're the mutable earth sign. They're the mutable earth sign ruled by Mercury. And that's where Mercury finds its domicile and exaltation. And that's just a little sidebar there. But if you find yourself in a situation where you're needing to take action on, maybe this is you're needing to get some debts in order, maybe you're looking to book a trip, maybe you want to change something in your career, maybe there's an adjustment in your friends or a certain group that you're needing to get involved. What is needing to change? That's what the first quarter is not necessarily about just staying in a state of reflection and contemplation. This is a time where the work needs to be done. We can only meditate so long on things, but we need to have that faith in action is what I'm getting with this first quarter moon phase here. And assess the situation accurately. Like, don't take on more than I feel like you're able to. If you only can deal with one thing, then deal with that one thing and do it well, as opposed to doing a whole bunch of things kind of half-assed. This is a time to, and maybe this is a time too to just see just kind of evaluate where maybe you've been overestimating yourself or underestimating yourself too. A lot of take the time to assess, but then afterwards it's like, okay, this is what I need to do. What does that first step look like? What can I do right now? Right now, and not tomorrow, right now. And that could be just like setting a to-do list for tomorrow, but at least you've taken some kind of action. Look at that, we got get yourself ready. But whatever that's looking like for you, this is the time to really be just very practical in what you're doing right now. There's a lot of, with that sun in Scorpio, it can bring up a lot of emotions. You may not feel like it. You may not do this. It may not do that. But I think it's remembering how you're going to feel when you start moving through it. When you think about that future and then set your future self up for success. There's a way, I feel, one thing I think with Aquarius is that maybe they can get caught up in so much in the future that they might neglect the present work, because we always need to be present. When we're present, everything is in alignment. We're not too much. We learn from our past, and we're applying stuff to create the future that we're wanting to. We don't need to be in the past or the future. Right now is where things are, where all the action's at. This is where all the magic is at here. But let's give me like a Queen of Wands energy here. But let's get some tarot on this and get some details. Oh, we were talking about that earlier. Now, thanks, Spirit. Got the Six of Wands here. All right, and then we have the Five of Pentacles and then the Hierophant. Now, the Five of Pentacles can, in like the Rider-Waite deck, this is would be the only card where there's in the background where it's snowing. And that can be where you're feeling kind of down and out, where you're focused on the things that you don't have as opposed to building up what steps you need to take to get to where you need to be. So it's like, let's say you're wanting to get in good health, but you're like, oh, I don't have money to go to a gym. You don't need a gym. You can work out around the house. You're like, oh, I don't have weights. I love this. There's this website or this group, that's a website. And it's fitnessblender.com. I love them. And one thing that I really enjoyed was that they were like, work with what you have around the house. Maybe you're lifting gallons of jugs of water. Maybe you get like water delivery service. You get those 5-gallon things, those things. That'll give you a good workout. But, maybe doing some stuff off your couch. If you don't have a bench, do things on the floor. If you don't have do it from a chair. There are ways to go play with the kids. If you have kids, go find a friend and go do some workout around the block. There are ways that we are more resourceful than we realize, but when we focus on the lack, then we don't see the victory with the Six of Wands here. I'm even getting with the Six of Wands. There's usually a figure in the Rider White where someone's kind of looking some type of way, just like look at them on their high horse. But I would say even to assess the people in your life. Are they bringing you up, or are they trying to keep you in a box here with the Hierophant? The Hierophant is very traditional in how they work and how they apply their action. This is Taurus energy. But I feel the Hierophant can. I feel sometimes the Hierophant can be. It can be helpful in providing structure, but it can also be very limited to the individual when I feel like there's an opportunity to hit a ceiling or to plateau with the Hierophant, and sometimes you need to do some things outside of the box. You need to assess what needs to, like, okay, you know what, these foundations I'm with, but there's this thing, and this thing need to change because they're taking away from this resource here and this resource here, and just kind of play around with these energies right now. I feel like this is a time to, I'm getting a creative energy, like the church is something I feel like is associated with the Hierophant, because there's the Pope that's in the church. But when you're not in church the rest of the week, there are ways that you can still pray, that you can connect with Source, connect with God, whatever that's looking like. And there are ways outside of that structure. And maybe you need to, if this is in a work setting, maybe, one of my favorite things to do, and when I would train people, is I was like, listen, if you ever find yourself where you're feeling really overwhelmed, you're feeling really frustrated in like the restaurant setting, I was like, go to wherever your closest walk-in is, and just be for a minute. That cool air will just cool you down for a minute, to help you get back into the body. And it's just like, okay, this is what I need to do. I need to do this, and that. And you know what? I actually can't do all of that, so I'm gonna need to ask somebody for some help. And that can just help you get centered again. It's not, I don't feel like this is like just throwing out everything that tradition says, but sometimes tradition can only do so much, in that you need to, look. Sometimes we need to just destroy the box altogether, in terms of just to find a different solution here, to get to a. Let me get a little bit more on the Hierophant. Oh, interesting. Yeah, I'm with it. Thanks, Spirit. All right, so the Hierophant is clarified by the Strength card here. Now, the Strength card is about calling on that inner strength here. That's what I was talking about. This is this Leo energy here. This is a great way, I feel like, of how do you channel the divine outside of when you're facing the beast, and the foundation doesn't have your back, or maybe can't have your back at that moment. When you feel kind of, because the interesting in the Five of Pentacles, there are these people that are like outside of a church, where they're feeling ignored, neglected. One guy's walking with like bare feet and don't have anyone's walking on crutches, and it's doing a lot. But it's like, how do you face that beast within when it's just you in that moment, Assess the situation, know where you can do things alone, and know when you need to ask for some help as well, and whatever that help looks like. But I feel like it's, even when it comes to getting help from others, most people are still learning to activate that mind reading ability. And so until that kind of more comes online, you have to communicate these things. And sometimes that takes strength to say, where it's just like, hey, you know what? This has been a long journey for me, the Six of Wands, and there's certain things that I'm not sure how to. I feel like I've hit a wall, and you seem like a great wise figure to get guidance from here. So, and that Six of Wands too, there's a big sense of community with this card, and I feel that I'm getting this message of allow your community to surprise you, to avail yourself of the resources that they can offer you. It may not seem like a lot in the moment, but you really can come to appreciate that in the long term later. And when the roles are reversed, you can provide something as well. And that's not why we do it, but it's just nice to know that that is there when it's needed. I'm even getting a message too that and take this as it resonates, but I'm getting this thing of not sending, how do I want to put this, it's like not sending any sort of like ill energies towards someone if they're not able to. Maybe when you ask, or I'm not like, it's like maybe when it's off, like it's not received well. I'm not sure. Maybe you're just like expecting someone to respond a certain type of way. And even if they do, to not let that be where that affects you, where it's just like, oh well, see, I knew that this would happen. But it's like maybe it's just like one individual or maybe even one establishment that we're looking towards. Yeah, take that if that resonates. Well, let's get some more on this. Okay. Thank you, Spirit. Oh, let's see what's going on here. Oh, interesting. Okay, so you have the Nine of Pentacles, the Ten of Pentacles, the King of Swords, the King of Wands, and then the Judgment card, which is like fire energy here. But speaking of some fire, this King of Wands is about, the King of Wands is a very passionate passionate king, and the kings represent this energy of wisdom. And I feel that the King of Wands is one that when he's needing to establish his Ten of Pentacles, he's going to do what it takes, that Nine of Pentacles, to get there, to build up that energy. Both of these cards are Virgo energy. This is Venus in Virgo, the Nine of Pentacles, and the Ten of Pentacles is Mercury in Virgo. And there's a very interesting contrast, because the Nine of Pentacles would be where that Venus in Virgo would be where Venus is in her fall. And so there may be this tendency of, okay, you know what, I'm finding myself in a familiar situation here and it's affecting my legacy. And now this Judgment card is saying we need to use some discernment. King of Swords to the Judgment. Do you want to go back to assess the situations? Are things about to go how they used to go? Are we getting ready to repeat a cycle here? Or are we getting ready to move on to the World card where we're starting up something different, putting in that work? Where did Nine of Pentacles go? Putting in that work with the Nine of Pentacles, changing up what we're attracting in order to get to this state of completion, to get this renewed energy is what I'm getting with the King of Wands as well here. But I feel that it all is going to start with you first in what you're attracting with that Nine of Pentacles energy. Let me get a little bit more with that Nine of Pentacles. All right, so the Nine of Pentacles is clarified by the Four of Cups here. And, I'm getting this thing here of, it's like you see these three cups in front of this person. It's like things have gone some certain way. We've felt this feeling before. We've been in this situation, and it's like the universe. It's not that the universe is offering you the same thing, but it's just like, okay, We've noticed the theme the first 3 times. Now, are you going to do the same thing with this cup, or are you just going to ignore it altogether? And that's what I feel like too, this private thing made public. Maybe this is something we've been ignoring for a while, and now Spirit's really just kind of putting it in your face. It's like, okay, yeah, you know what, you're right. This has been frustrating these last 3 times, and we are getting ready to get to this place where after this is the 5 of Cups, where we lead to disappointment. But these 3 cups, where they could have been situations that maybe have left you maybe feeling jaded, maybe feeling apprehensive, but they don't have to be. These can all be, they can all be sources of new inspiration here, sources of inviting you to do things differently. You know, it's like, you know what, you're right. I don't have to keep doing things that keep affecting my abundance, that keep, it's not that people are taking from you. I think it's like, there's this like almost like allowing, like, let's say if you're in a relation, like a relationship, where this could be friendship, partnership, loveship, where it's like you just give a lot but you don't get anything in return. Well, you know what, now let's pour into your legacy, into your foundation. And then it's like with these 2 kings here, it's like then we can attract newer energies, newer people that keep. Because I'll tell you something too, and this is just something I was just been noticing. People will tell you a lot about themselves, and just like when you're assessing a situation, all you sometimes need to do is just kind of be still for a moment, to be quiet and just to observe and see where it's like, okay, that keeps going on, this keeps going on, and I'm getting a lot of just like, when I say divine insights, it doesn't have to be so mystical. You know, it's like, it's just like really like these aha moments where it's just like, oh, and it's not looking with judgment. It's looking with this just like, oh, there it is. That's the source of this thing. So either I can remove myself from this relationship, or I need to change. It's just like something here is, yeah, something's becoming clear. Let me get a little bit more with the judgment before we get some advice from Saturn. Thanks, Spirit. Ah, there's wifey. Oh wait, no, never mind. This is somebody's wife. We got the Queen of Pentacles here. I don't know who she's married to in this scenario, but with the Queen of Pentacles. Oh, she doesn't approve. Sassy queen. I don't know if you saw. If you're just listening to this, the little thumbs down popped up for this. She's not married to any the King of Swords or the King of Wands, and that might be something too to think about. I like that popped up like that, because it's just like no mas. Like, you know what, I'm good on this. Like, and that's what I feel like the situation with this kind of 4 of Cups here too. Look how the lights shining on the Queen of Pentacles. She's like really she almost looks angelic in a way, like that. And I love that that's clarifying this Judgment card here. There's this angel standing here, but there's the Queen of Pentacles. Of course, she looks radiant with the sun shining on her, but I feel like it's just because now she's focused on what really matters for her. She's looking at this pentacle here, and those are the things that fill her up, that keep her going, that get her to this sense of victory. And it's just like these little actions here, whether it's removing yourself from certain social groups, or taking on establishing different routines, things along those lines. They may seem just like little small changes. It's like, oh, how could they possibly? But just give it a try and see what happens. And yeah, watch the changes come through. But let's get a little advice from Saturn. Okay. Thanks, Spirit. All right, last little bit here. Ooh, all these swords. All right, so we got a lot to think about. So you have the 5 of Swords, the 6 of Swords, and the 10 of Swords here. And let's switch back over. Because this 10 of Swords, I really think it's like, how many times you know, there's like the Ten of Swords. There's like usually this figure that's got all these swords in their back. It's just like how many times are we gonna find ourselves in this situation before things start to change? It's I'm getting this energy of it's like it's you know, there's this figure that's like reclaiming these swords that and like people are kind of walking away defeated, but I think that it's not you being defeated. It's just like, you know what, you showing up in a way that is just like you're making these changes and people are just like, oh, they're not putting up with my crap anymore. Like I'm gonna either need to change or I'm gonna have to remove myself from this from their life. And that's what the Six of Swords is giving me too. This is Mercury in Aquarius. Mercury in Aquarius, where it's focusing on something different. You know, staying out of the hornet's nest in a sense with this Five of Swords and whatever that's looking like. Maybe there's a lot, and I know there's some bigger things that can happen. Maybe there's something going on where you're in like let's say your neighborhood or your environment is not where you want to be. Well, then it's like trying to take maybe trips if it's available for you outside of that to experience something different. You know, maybe it's like hopping on a bus somewhere, maybe going on a drive somewhere, and just like start establishing like new regular places for you to go to as opposed to the same old places in your neighborhood. And like just those kind of actionable steps can shift this energy here of the Ten of Swords is even what I'm getting here. Even when things seem really big, we're in more control than we realize. And I think that it's just a matter of, okay, these are the things that are out of my control. And instead of like that Five of Pentacles, focus on what's outside of my control. What is in my control? What can I do? And not what I need other people or other things to do. I can want this thing to be something till you're blue in the face, but unless there's some sort of actions taking where maybe you're doing like maybe you're getting into something where you're able to change that, but until that can happen, it's just like, what can you do in the meantime? What do you want your Ten of Pentacles, your this legacy? What do you want to receive? You know, okay, this is what I've inherited, but you don't have to keep that inheritance. You know, you hear people maybe sometimes that will inherit it like different family businesses and things, and it's like, yeah, I don't want to do that. I don't want to be where it's like I don't want to run your shop, or I don't want to continue the line of family from military or doctors or lawyers or musicians or whatever that is. It's like I want to create my own thing. And I'm even thinking even kind of like even on a bigger scale here, like on a maybe even like a global scale. It's like, you know, these are, you know, do we have to be in this place where we just keep receiving the same old karma and we're doing the same old things, or just like taking more, again, I'm getting like a judgment day, and not again, not in a doom type of way, but more so in a like, you know what, let's just be the leader of our own lives in a sense with this King of Wands, and in focusing on that empowerment, bring about more people in that empower, creating this newer sense of community here. But yeah, just some things to think about with this energy. A lot to kind of focus on here, but I think I'm gonna leave that there. So if you like that, if anything resonated with you, give it a thumbs up. Oh, there it is. And share this if you want to know someone who would resonate with this and get some nuggets of wisdom from this. And subscribe to your judgment card. Hit that bell button to get notified on all these videos each day. And then last little bit, if you want to know what's going on in the celestial cosmos, I had a better word for that. But if you want to know the celestial chit chat that's going on in the sky, come on over to my other channel, Alchemist 8, where I do weekly videos talking about that, the shorter videos there. And I'm going to get back on it, but definitely tomorrow. But I do also do videos there talking about different planetary placements in different signs and different houses. So all that housekeeping is down in the description box below. But let me get your surprise cards here. so I can get you growing, and we can maybe get a sleep in. Oh, interesting. Thank you, Spirit. All right, so you got the Starry Night card here, which is a card of acceptance. And with this acceptance, I think that this acceptance is not surrender. This is, okay, I am in a situation that I'm in, and I accept that. This may be because of choices that you've made. This could have been because of choices other people made. It don't matter. This is where we're at right now. And let that sit for a minute. And not stew in it in where it's like it's defeating you, but it's just like, okay, I'm here. Maybe you've been avoiding this at secret. Now let's unmask this thing. Let's just call it what it is. This is not what you want, or whatever, if we're in that sort of scenario. And then it's just like, okay, now what does the opposite of that look like? What would that change look like? And then just maybe sit with that for a little bit and maybe just write that stuff down. This is like, okay, I'm living this sort of life. I'm in this kind of relationship. And write it in the present, too. Maybe do a video about it, a voice memo, whatever this is. Maybe you're talking to the stars. But I think that this could be something where even when you think about the stars, I'm thinking about how like we have like the fixed stars. Even they're moving. It's very small, but even they're moving. It's less obvious than the planets and how they move, but they are moving nonetheless. And I think that it's accepting that you can do these little needle moving activities at Six of Wands and assess what needs to be done to get to the future that you want to. Six of Swords. But it's just like, where's the focus right now? That moon in Aquarius. And what do I need to nurture in order to make those things come to fruition? And accept that things can change. Things can absolutely change. I'm even looking at just like this comment that's just kind of passing by here. I feel like that's even like an omen for your change. Like this can be where wish on a star. Those kind of little powerful things can just evoke just something in you. They might be those little actions that you need to take, or even the motivations that you need in order to get to where you want to be. So that's all I got for you there. So until next time, stay mindful out there and keep raising that consciousness through the roof. Keep eyes on the moon. And I will catch you on the next one. We're going to catch you Saturday.